This is the time when you have to get a rank. This is the time when you have to minimize your attempts and maximize your impact. These months, October mid to January end, are all about erring on the side of your mains preparation. This, my dear aspirants, should guide you into understanding the evolution arc which mature and veteran aspirants are taking. This is the arc that you need to take today, right now, or waste an attempt and take it another time. What's missing here is the attention to hierarchy and building your body structure. So this will get above average marks, but it will not fetch him the X factor marks. And if you understand these fundamentals, and if your basic essay or ethics reading course wise is at certain mature level, you can then try to incorporate any of these quotes into your answer as a part of the introduction. This is the promise that we give at CD. This is the level at which we want you to perform. And let's take January as a target. You join us now.
What are those X factor ingredients that you could put in an answer at various sections?
This is the X factor that you need in your answer.
One good source of current affairs. It can be Civilsdaily.
You need to have that X factor in your answer.
With the help of X factor notes.
This is the best notes you can have.
I used to read their X factor notes.
The questions are very good and even the answers were very detailed and they were, I extracted a lot of content from them.
Kabhi na, we should look at a ranker's earlier attempts when they either did not get a rank or they were getting ranks which they didn't desire. And we should look at the attempts of this year at which they got ranks. Okay, so let's say we look at the attempts of Shakti Dubey and Aditya Srivastav on the years where they did not get the IS rank and in the year where they did get the IS rank 1. What it does for you and me both is to put the ideas of rigorous answer writing into practice. Okay. What it does is it gives us a sneak peek into how their minds were working in the year where they were still struggling to get the right answers out versus the year where they peaked. Okay, so it would be interesting in this video where I take you through Shakti's beginner mode answer, Shakti's IS mode answers, and then I take you through Aditya Srivastav's answer attempt on the time when he got an IPS rank and the attempt where he got the AIR 1. Okay, but even before all that, let me take you through the deep understanding as to what's the competition that you have. You're not just competing among yourself, you're competing with sharks, literally people who've been burned by the system, who know what it takes, what it costs to get every single mark in the mains examination in a way that it kind of makes your preparation interview proof as much as they can. And they are just gunning in these next 3 months to ensure they fill the gaps. These months, October mid to January end, are all about erring on the side of your mains preparation. Okay, prelims preparation will start from February onwards, but right now are the time where you have to master every nuance of answer writing. So I'll take you through one example, which is a simple one, and you and we should both attempt. Pause the video, see this question. This question is on the need of code of ethics, where code of conducts already exist. And if code of ethics is needed, and this question asks for your opinion, do you think there is a need? And if does, normal people who understand the explicit demand of the question will then start listing the key values that such a code of ethics should contain. Okay, this is normal understanding. Everyone would start do that. But like I keep harping back upon the point, the game opens up when you understand the implicit demand of the question. Okay, and trust me, it's not rocket science, but it's a way of life. It's a way of UPSC preparation. So if you understand that, then you would know that for you to give an answer on do we need ethical codes of conduct when we already have conduct rules, you need to have a conceptual clarity on the difference between what are legal and external controls, which is around the conduct part, and what is the importance of moral and internal compass, which is around the ethics part. अगर ये नहीं पता line by line, row by row, then your answer will just start from any keyword which you pick up from the question, or worse, it will only address the explicit demand. Okay, you have to not just know the difference, you have to also justify the need, why conduct rules alone are insufficient. And if you're able to justify this need properly, then inevitably you will be harping back upon the foundation of good governance. And if you do that, and if your notes are this rich, and if your writing and your reading is that rich, then you will inevitably be adding the value frameworks, which are, second ARC recommendation from the Nolan principles. And as an X factor point, as you keep going forward, as you build your base like this, you will have references from thinkers, from your essay reading, from your ethical thinkers, or any other optional PSIR readings. to add X factor points to this. Now let's see, with this as mature understanding, what was Shakti's initial attempt used to look like, on which she improved later on, right? And let's be rigorous, okay, in our understanding, because this is the time when you have to get a rank. This is the time when you have to minimize your attempts and maximize your impact, okay? So while this line is amazing, that civil servants are called the steel frame and it puts us in the center of the gravity, other lines are basically not that weighty or not that meaningful. They don't give me much. They form the permanent executive. It's just facts, which does not give me any comparison, any clarity, any context on why A versus B, conduct versus ethical rules, should be both existing, right? And as you read through this answer, you will realize that they're mostly definition oriented. They're not application oriented. Important values that must be part of the code of conduct of ethics are, these are the values. So you will get some marks for this because you listed down the explicit demand, but you will not get marks for completely missing out the implicit one, okay? And then the answer just abruptly finishes, and that's about it, okay? Now, the core principle which we have to imbibe here is that of the difference between code of conduct and code of ethics. And I'm just giving you a very simple table out here, which gives you the broad differences on which you can elaborate in your answers. So the code of conduct, we know, is mostly administrative discipline, and it's punitive in nature, right? It's to ensure there's an administrative discipline and there's a procedural order to things. But it does not ensure public trust, fairness, and moral legitimacy of the governance, right? You need to understand how these both complement each other. So nature-wise, it's legal and regulatory. This is moral and aspirational. Focus-wise, this is more compliance-centric. Okay, it's this. Focus-wise, this is value-centric. It is this. How is it approached? This is based on deterrence and supervision. This is based on self-regulation and moral reflection. You will realize as you read through these things, this is more external and this is more internal. Okay, this is a part of good governance, and this is the part of when governance is supposed to be predictive, procedural, and if there are issues, we can course correct them later. And if you understand these fundamentals, and if your basic essay or ethics reading course wise is at certain mature level, you can then try to incorporate any of these quotes into your answer as a part of the introduction. Because this is the implicit demand of the question. Do you understand that there is a difference between code of conduct and code of ethics? And do you understand and can you justify the reason for both of them to be existing, because they solve two different purposes? That is what the implicit demand is. The explicit demand is, if you understand all that, then tell me what are the key values which are needed. Okay, because the question is of an opinion, so you can maybe say that we don't need the code of ethics, or they are implicit in the code of conduct, which they are not. But that is what the question wants to get from you, not just the key values which should be enshrined in ethics. Okay, which by the way will come from your understanding of Nolan report. Okay, Nolan principle, sorry. Now Shakti attempted a similar question on code of ethics governs the decision making and code of conduct governs actions, right? Discuss. This question's implicit demand is also the same, that you have to hedge both of them together. And this time she plays the master stroke. This time she invokes one quote here, Potter Stewart here, which puts in the perspective of ethics and conducts hand in hand. It puts in the context of how internal governance and external governance are both needed. And then you would see how code of ethics and code of conduct are both taken differently. Both are compared, examples are given to substantiate, which is what's needed. And then a conclusion is drawn, which finishes this in discussion. Same person in the year when she got the rank 1, same aspirant in the year when she was still struggling to try to understand the rubrics of answer writing. This, my dear aspirants, should guide you into understanding the evolution arc which mature and veteran aspirants are taking. This is the arc that you need to take today, right now, or waste an attempt and take it another time. And I know it might look very simplistic because this is after all just one question of one paper and you have 4 GS papers and then you have optionals and whatnot. But this is kind of the muscle memory with which you need to operate. Okay. Now let's go to another ranker. Now let's take another question. This is the question attempted by Aditya in the year when he got an IPS rank, and it's a good attempt. And therefore, I'll show you the areas where he improved later on to get the IAS rank 1. The question is simple. Fundamental rights chapter of the Constitution is the North Star of universe of constitutionalism. Examine. What this question wants you to emphasize on, what does it mean for something to be a North Star metric? An examine is a directive where you have to examine both sides. Okay, you have to basically critically evaluate this thing. You have to give points where it did indeed act as a North Star metrics, where it prevailed, and parts where it did not. Okay, and then substantiate these with examples, put some hierarchy into your questions, answer in your body, and then give a way forward, which is mostly a positive way forward whenever we give in a GS answer. Now, this is the attempt which he gave when he got the IPS rank. And as I read through this answer, it's a damn good answer, except for few mistakes or few issues which this answer has. This is his IPS mode, if we can say so. The introduction is pretty simple. It's pretty factual, right? This is the kind of question, because it involves a value judgment North Star, where you should invoke some eminent jurist, Justice Chandrachud maybe, or some scholar who will give a higher order thinking to the introduction over here, right? Fundamental rights as North Star metrics, he then takes in depth, and even though he mentions cases, he mentions Maneka Gandhi case, he mentions, the living tree doctrine, expanding Article 17, the Sabrimala case. What's missing here is the hierarchical input. What's missing here is the attention to hierarchy and building your body structure. So this will get above average marks, but it will not fetch him the X factor marks, which he should get because of his rich knowledge base. So our understanding and our evaluation of that answer was that these are the things that were missing. And this one. Main things, okay? You failed to demonstrate how fundamental rights embody constitutional morality. There was a point where Aditya talks about Keshwanand Bharti case. But Keshwanand Bharti case is not a critical examining point on the fundamental rights chapter. That should be about the right to property being eroded from the constitution, right? This is more about constitution fundamental doctrine that cannot be touched, which was the Supreme Court's main imperative in this, right? So there are few things which he had to tighten up in this answer. Most importantly, it was this hierarchical framework. Most importantly, it was these things where he could have given a much better intro, a code-based intro to get highest marks in the introduction. Theme has to be clearly etched out. Structuring was still okay, but linkage to constitutionalism was weak. And when this guy writes the next attempt, in which he did indeed get AIR1 rank, look at the answer. The question is, with suitable examples, discuss how environmental pressure groups enhance public participation and responsiveness with regards to environment policies in India. You would have another question, if you remember, on how EIA reports are being scrutinized by NGOs. And I think this year only or last year, UPSC asked very specifically name those NGOs and their cases. List at least 4 of such cases, right? This question is an overarching question on that. But the beauty is, in this point, every example or every point is substantiated with examples. When you do that, and when you explicitly ensure that your ideas and your opinions are backed by real life examples, you get a multiplier on points. Pressure groups are the group of organized people formed while exercising their. This is a simple definition. They played a major role. It's a very simple definition, but what's important is this level of articulation, this level of DAE approach, which Aditya took here. Dimension, argument, and example, and carried it forward, okay, along with challenges. This is what gives him the X factor edge. So now, as you are here in the month of October and you're watching this video, it's up to now you to ensure that not only you understand the implicit demands of the mains question that you read, and even when you go through the topper copies, even when you go through your own copies separately as a self-analysis, try to understand what justice, rankers, or you have done to the implicit demands. Because explicit demand, most of you would be able to do. Where you might fail is putting them in a hierarchical order. Where you might fail is putting them in a diagrammatic representation so that it saves on the space and puts a lot of impact on your points. But take this video as a humble reckoning that most of the rankers who you see shining, not just rank 1, rank 2, top 100 rankers who you see shining with their pitch perfect answers in the attempt that they did get the rank, they started somewhere like this. They started somewhere missing on the basic rubrics of mains answer writing, and they kept improving upon that. And that has to be your understanding and your way forward as well. So when you talk to us, when you come and meet with us for a SMASH or UAP program, bring your notes to us. Send something. Send us anything that you've been working on so that we know what ideas you already have. And then we'll tell you and we'll train you on these fundamental principles. And we'll keep putting you to test week over week so that these things become your second memory. As I say, in the end game, you have to master these 5 non-negotiables, okay, for your mains answer writing. And this is the time to master that. You have to be 100% geared towards understanding the implicit demand of a question. Because not just that it would give you extra points to write on the answer, it would also define the maturity of your answer right from the introduction. Okay, if you miss out the implicit demands and if you only focus on the explicit demand, your answer comes out as very fact or very rookie based. It almost comes out as a template. If you understand the implicit demand, you're able to give some philosophical or reflective weight to every GS question. That's an important thing. Second would come your structural reasoning, which is the core pillar of our DAE approach, which is dimension, argument, and examples. This is where X factor notes come in handy a lot, because we will give you and supplement with you the modern examples, the modern day examples, which you can tightly almost copy paste in your answers. Then comes your precision and density. Again, part of the example rubric, but this will give you all the data, all the reports, all the references to put in the question. And lastly, save the X factor notes for later, but design thinking. You have to think in terms of laying out your 2 pages so that your body flows in heading, subheading, comparison, diagrammatic manner, so that I'm able to see a flow through your answer. Whenever you're able to do that, whenever rankers have been able to do that, and we keep making such videos so that we show you, we kind of walk the talk. Whenever they've been able to do that, the answer looks neat, it looks precise, it has all the embellishments, all the key phrases to just shine out of the paper. And even as a UPSC examiner who's chasing like 50th copy, he or she will be ready to give you the marks that you deserve. So this is the practice. This is the promise that we give at CD. This is the level at which we want you to perform. And let's take January as a target. You join us now. If you've done basic foundation course or if you've done your basic NCERT reading, now is the time to get on the 5th gear. Okay, come with us, speak with us, come to see us here, and we'll onboard you on a very high pedestal. Okay, take care, and I'll see you in the next video.